One day. All right. Before we get started, we always like to say there's a lot going on in the world. But we also want to say, welcome back. I know everybody and their mom is going to be happy that Michael Dean is back.
What's up?
Yeah. You know, oh, I ain't got my mic together. Here we go. Now I'm so excited. I'm so excited because one of my favorite people on the planet is joining us today, and that is author Matt Thorne. Welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
Yay! Yeah. So I
welcome, Matt.
Yes, welcome. I want to rush through this. What to first do this week, so I can talk to you. And because, you know, we have some peeps, so who doesn't like when we start with the salon part? Because, you know, what I really want to do is just start talking to you. But, you know, I think our timekeeper might be here somewhere. I don't see Kim yet. Maybe we could just show out and do what we want.
Kim late? What? How you going to keep time?
All right. So first in the chat, April Watson. Hey, fam, out and about this morning. Hope to be back. We hope that you come back. We got Boombox Guru. And we got Cassandra Bradley and AT Alien. Thank you for being here. We got Andre Staley. What up, though? We got Big Sexy in the house. I can't believe you up this early. All right. We got Lisa Williams. H-Town. Yes. We got Michael Dean back. Love. And we got Fair Dances. Happy Saturday, Purple Fam. Working again on this manic Saturday. But definitely listening in. We got Nick Felder from Denver. We got Theo from Seattle.
Yeah.
Yes, Theo is going to Celebration. I am so excited about this. This is, I think, a really good year to come. 10 years. It's going to be a lot of people there. Sister Charles in the house. We got Christina from Minneapolis. We got Chanel Meredith. And yes, Christina's going to be at Celebration as well. We got D68A. Okay, let's see what D68A is talking about. Just timed it well for FA Cup ending. You know I'm sports illiterate. I don't know what FA stands for. Do either of you know what FA stands for?
Football Association. It's the British soccer thing.
Ah, nice. Thank you.
The F around cup. But
and we have my alliterative brother, Blade Brown. And we got Ron Kayla, we got El Michelle, we got Karan, we got Rakabash. Salutations, purple people from Detroit. Don't you see that Seeley's not here today? Go Pistons. Like, I don't know any of these sports references. So that'll be for Seeley when he watches later. He won't be able to join us. We got Badro Botu, if I'm saying that right. We got Chris Bournet in the house. We got Annie Ward in the house. There's our timekeeper. Okay. So we can't show out. I was going to flip stuff around, Kim, but you were here, so we're going to...
Wait, Kim, what are you doing?
We got JD Washington in the house. We got Duke Swan. We got a hello, Matt. Somebody knows who's here. That's what I love. And we got Eric D. We got, let's see. I love this. Life can be so nice. I love that Purple Cat Confetti already has their bags packed for Minneapolis. That's what I'm talking about. Somebody's excited. And we got Raywan. Okay, happy 60th birthday to Janet Jackson today. Thank you for that. And then we got, I say, I'm so sad. Good morning, Gloria. I love that. Good morning, Gloria. And then we have
Gloria. I got your number. Well, that was the hit back then. Anyway, I'm sorry, Gloria.
I hated that song. Okay.
It was one of them early earworms.
No, it wasn't for me. I was like, off. And then, okay, Nick Feldon is asking you, Michael Dean.
Oh, man, you already know.
We got Lori Johnson. And, okay, I'm doing this just for C. Lee when he watches this later. And we got Lady Cab Driver, and Big Sexy is saying it's still too early.
Okay, I'm with you, Big Sexy.
Oh my God. And Theo, I'm excited that they are screening Under the Cherry Moon, a celebration. It is always fantastic to watch a Prince film in a room full of Prince folks. It's nothing like it. It's the worst when you go see a Prince film in the theater and it's just like general public. It's not the same. So that is going to be really fantastic. I'm glad to hear that someone hated that Gloria song. Gloria, Michael Dean, Gloria hated the Gloria song. So, you know.
I didn't say I like it. I just said I remember it was a big ass. That was a banger back then.
Yes. And then I remember from the ice skating. Oh, it was in Flashdance, wasn't it?
That's a movie I'm gonna watch. I haven't seen that movie since then. I want to see that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. It was like as a little person, I loved that movie. I love Jennifer Beals. I love the space that she lived in. Like as a little person, I was big old warehouse.
Those were like big at that time. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was super cool. And then obviously, you know, like the shoulder off. You know, she started that thing, and we already knew about the leg warmers from Prince, but so that wasn't new.
Yeah, the video for was it Maniac or was it?
Yeah, I think it was Maniac.
Yeah, that was one of those videos for the young men where you were like you never seen. It was like, whoa, I didn't felt something like that before. That was one of them early kind of like, God, okay, this is what a woman.
Yeah. Indeed. All right, so let's get through this housekeeping so we can get this party started so we can talk about what I really want to talk about, which is Matt Thorne's new book. So that's why Matt is here. I am so grateful that Matt is willing to actually join us for the What Did Prince Do This Week? And we are week 20 of 1986. This is a very slow read of Duane Tudahl's Prince Studio Sessions book series through an interactive weekly online book club and Saturday Salon. The Saturday Salon is going to be key this week because we're having a conversation with Matt Thorne. Some of you have been a little testy in the chat. This ain't about Prince. This ain't about Prince. There is Prince in the book. So just FYI, there's a Prince connection, echoing the spirit of the Harlem Renaissance. And let's see, we got many people. So we got Melvin Rush in the house. We got Kenneth from the north side of Minneapolis.
Stand up.
And let's see what LTK is saying. Professor and MD, sorry to detract from the topic, but God put it in my heart to tell y'all you're doing very important work. Oh, that's so amazing. I see someone possibly not old enough yet stumbling across these videos in the future and have access to a masterclass about Prince. Thanks for all y'all.
You for that.
Yeah, thank you. That is really, really kind of you. That puts a smile on my heart. It really does. And
can I say, Matt, because you're here today, so I'm gonna treat you like family. No, put Matt back up on the screen. Put him on Summer Jam screen. You kind of got that. It's like a politician player type vibe because you got the little gold chain. You know what I'm saying? But the slick, I like the style, man. You're doing your thing.
To take it, but
and then that accent, you know what you're like you're the quantum realm new age James Bond. There you go.
Well, that's probably better than a politician, unless it's a good politician.
We'll put you on. Yeah, you're the player James Bond. Okay. You're Roger Moore's son for
I'll
tonight.
come back every week.
I'm gonna leave you alone.
All right. And so D68A is saying, if I recall right, original Gloria was by Umberto Tozzi. Too much part info in my head. Okay. I'm sure that's better than the one that Michael Dean just for us.
Gloria trivia.
Yeah. And hello, baby love. As always, great to have you here. And let's see. Okay, we got a disco.
There you go. That's his new name.
Okay. And Raven wants us to know that there is breaking news that there's a Prince album this summer, but I don't want to talk about it because I don't know what it is. So I just know that there's a new Prince album. So there's not much to talk about except I'm one of those I never count my chickens before they hatch kind of person. So we are going to talk about it when it arrives, but we don't have even a date. So when that day comes, we'll have more to talk about. All right. So we're going week to week, not date to date. And one day you'll figure this out. So just so you know, Michael, the day that Arthur U.S. Seeley was on here and Seeley was trying to read Sunday of next week, this is the reason why
We're going to recap.
Yes. It is Sunday to Saturday of each week, not date to date. And again, someone will figure it out. Okay. And we have Mila, my heart here. Elder, you're never late. And you're not late, Suzu's Patters. You are here. And yes, exactly, D16. So we'll come to that when we get to it. So we're week 20, and this week it's actually a kind of a short week in that we're only talking about Sunday, May 11th until Thursday of May 15th. So get your books ready at Sunday, May 11, 1986. And remember, you do not need the paperback, but this is what has the most updated information, or you can be like Michael Dean and have the original OG version, the hardcover. And okay, let's see. So Mad Angry Panda is saying, since they dropped the With This Tear demo, I'm hoping the album would be the Love and Diamonds outtakes. That would be incredible if it was a Love and Diamonds outtakes. I would be all for that. But I have a strange feeling that it may not be that, but I would love that. That's because I don't want to go down this road. But I will say this. I love the Diamonds and Pearls box set. I wish it would have been the Love and Diamonds as it was originally planned. I really love the outtakes from the Love Symbol album over the majority of the outtakes from the Diamonds and Pearls, even though there's some gems, there's always gems, no matter what you get. And Blade Brown, I would be all for Originals Volume 2. I would love that. But again, I don't know. We got to wait and see. We have no clue. We don't have any clues. So it's hard to talk about when you don't really know. We just know it's a new album, which is a way to, I guess, keep the excitement and keep people guessing on what's possible. So these are archived at Polished Solid as well as at MDean. As Ricky would say, as you come on in, just hit the like button. You know how these YouTube algorithms be working out here. They're not working for me. So if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button and subscribing so that I can keep up with all of what did Prince do this week, I would love it. Now, I'm with Theo. This is a mistake that I have done in all the past symposia that I have. And to be honest, it's usually because Kanisa Williams is there and Kanisa takes the best notes anyway. So, but it's important to take your own notes. So I love that Theo will have their notepad out at all times to take really good notes. And I love that Andrew is loving the anticipation. I love that. And then Mad Angry Panda is saying it's all fantasy till then. And yes, I love this. So Real Line DJ is saying the state is doing the best they're allowed to do. So fam, let's enjoy the ride. Exactly. And I love that Christina will be I love that people are bringing notepads, pen, and paper. Old school, analog. That's what I'm talking about. And our hashtag is WDPDTW if you want to get in touch with me on social media, because I really less and less. But if you want to send us something, you can use it WDPDTW@gmail.com. The estate of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. It is an independent endeavor. And our community guidelines are we choose to be a community even when we disagree. Now, at the top of the hour, we played one of my favorite tracks off of Times Square, Andorra. And in the accompanying playlist to this week's episode, that's all the way at the bottom of my YouTube channel, there is a live version of Eric Leeds performing this on BET, one of their jazz programs from 1991. So if you want to hear this live, and it's amazing because it has the great late jazz pianist Jerry Allen on piano. Is really, really incredible. But in terms of the track that's actually on the album, it was composed by Eric Leeds, Prince Levi Caesar Jr., and Sheila E. Eric Leeds is on the tenor, baritone, saxophone, synthesizers. Atlanta Bliss is on the trumpet. Ricky Peterson, Paul Peterson's brother, is on piano. Levi Caesar Jr. on bass. Sheila E. on drums. And Larry Frantangelo is on like percussion and stuff. It's cut off. I forgot that, but it's okay. And we are episode number 172 of What Did Prince Do This Week? Yes, we're closing in on 200. We are week 20 of 1986. This week, we have 2 studio sessions, which burst 3 new songs, and we have 1 live appearance. So let's see who did their reading. What is the live appearance? Does anyone know? Did anyone do their reading? Or has anyone been on social media this week to know? Yes, Darlene EC is so miss. Yes, I love this from Mila. Please be our purple reporters for the celebration. I love that. And we got 71 in the house. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. D68A knows what's going on. Of course you do, D68A. Bangles. So Prince joins the Bangles on the stage of the Warfield in San Francisco. And yes, Andrew, you got it. The Bangles. All right. So
are they still together as a group?
I don't know. I haven't heard any, but their Instagram is actually still live. And they actually posted this past week that Prince performed with them this week, which I thought was incredible. So at least their social media is still active. I don't know if they have been touring lately. So yeah. And okay, Elder Bar says Clem Fandango. Can you hear me? Matt will know. Matt, do you know?
Yes, I get it. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't.
It's an alias.
Say it again?
It's an alias, right?
Okay. All right. I don't know about that alias. So D68A is saying they do get together now and then, only 3 though now. Okay.
Oh.
And
nice.
I love that Andrew gives us
it is Google's. Thank you.
Google's. And the Bangles are technically still together, but they're inactive and do not currently tour or record. All right.
Got it. Thank you.
Got it. So on Sunday, Prince tracks 2 new songs. 1 is still unreleased, Boy You Bad. I really want to hear this track just from the title alone, Boy You Bad. And then one of the most phenomenal songs in Prince's catalog, It, particularly how it transforms live. So it was recorded in May 11th on a Sunday in 1986, way before it's released on Sign of the Times. And then on Wednesday, we have Prince's appearance with the Bangles at the Warfield Theater. And then on Thursday, there is another untitled track. All right, so now we are going to get to reading. So if you don't mind, Matt, I'll make you read Boy You Bad and It, which is Sunday, May 11th. And we always read everything in the gray box. And you can skip the Susan Rogers quote.
Okay, so just the gray box from the start, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so Boy You Bad, tracking mix, It, tracking mix, It, instrumental, guitar overdub mix, Sunset Sound, Studio 3, 10:50 p.m. to 8:30 a.m., booked, open, producer Prince, artist Prince, engineers Coke Johnson and Susan Rogers, assistant engineer Todd Herman. And then go on to the text?
Yeah.
Okay. Prince was the head of the organization, but for many under him, there was a unity that went beyond simply being co-workers. There was and still is to this day a familial bond that only people who worked for him understand. Most families are more democratic, explained Rogers. In amongst ourselves, without Prince in the mix, there was a beautiful system that shared responsibilities and shared talents and strengths. But we all looked to Prince as the hub of this wheel to provide our direction. We were kind of like a family with one very strong and very obvious leader. Despite having a team, Prince worked well when he was alone. Isolation for him wasn't a hindrance, explained Susanna. Isolation was a time for him to communicate. So being alone in a room and writing was his most natural place to communicate what he needed to say to any particular person or an entire fan base or to the public at large. Prince appears to have worked alone in the studio on this day and recorded 2 new tracks during this session. The first was It, a drum-heavy song that found Prince singing about sex, was recorded quickly using several layers of the Fairlight, guitar, and possibly for the first time, a drum track from the Fairlight. He also recorded his vocals through a distorted voice box. When Prince played It for Wendy, she recognized the power of his vocals. I wept. There were certain tracks of his that had the power and beautiful melody that had more like a desperation to his voice that I responded to. I could feel his voice right at that frequency where he's just about to crack and go to falsetto, but not quite. And it's just that desperate vocal range that when he sang it and pushed hard, it was heartbreaking to me. And from that vocal range, that frequency, he could also scream. And I would cry when I'd hear it. He followed that with Boy You Bad, a guitar-heavy instrumental blues jam that sounds as if it might have been recorded with the members of the Revolution, but was likely another solo track. The 15-hour session continued into the following morning, and at the end of the shift, the two songs were mixed. It underwent the biggest change during the session because Prince didn't include his distorted vocals and some of the guitar and synth tracks in the mix, creating a much simpler version of the song. They were both placed on two C90 cassettes, along with various instrumental mixes of It, which likely contained some of the elements, guitar and some keyboard, that were eliminated earlier. Status: It, 525, was edited down to 510 and released on Prince's Sign of the Times album in 1987. Any instrumentals that Prince created from It remained unreleased during his lifetime. Boy You Bad also remained unreleased during Prince's lifetime. Some of the structure of the song would find its way into You Got the Look in December.
Wow.
So one of the things that stands out for me in this particular chapter is it seems like it had more instrumentation to it. So it says, Prince didn't include his distorted vocals and some of the guitar and synth tracks in the mix. And I've always thought that in terms of what's on Sign of the Times, the studio version, that it was too sparse. And that it's only when we hear it in concert, more specifically in Sign of the Times Live, is when it came alive for me. So I would really have loved if this could have been included in the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe, like this fuller version of the track. So that's actually one thing that's missing for me. I'm curious about your thoughts on that, Matt or Michael.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. I mean, it sounds amazing, doesn't it? Distorted vocals and some of the guitar and synth. It sounds great. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love it as it is. I mean, it's not anything, isn't it? I mean, as soon as you hear a new version, I'm sure I would really want to have it and really want to listen. It'd be interesting to see which one works best, because clearly it does feel like a song that he's put a lot of thought into and worked out how it sounds. So obviously there was something about it that didn't make it fit, but I wonder whether it's because it wouldn't have fitted into Sign of the Times as it is, which is why he changed it, or whether there was some reason. I mean, there's a lot of sort of heavier stuff around the Times sessions that didn't end up on the finished album. So, but I definitely think this is a track that should be on the Super Deluxe, and wonder why it wasn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree for the most part as well. I think again, as we've seen with so many other songs by Prince, there are so many different variations of these songs, and it's probably like you could probably do this with 90% of the songs we've heard. There's probably a different version, multiple different versions of the song, and how do you get a lot of that out, right? It's how do you choose what to put, so I can understand that's a tough thing. But yeah, I mean, this just illustrates how important and just how just creative Prince was, that even songs that are classics like It, there's another take on it that is probably just as whoa, the possibilities are endless. So it's just he's a fascinating guy, man, to say the least.
Oh yeah, to say the least. So we have a lot of amazing comments in the chat. So the first one I want to pull up is Chris Bournet is saying the fact that It was recorded on a Sunday contradicts Susan Rogers' theory that he mostly did gospel-oriented songs on Sundays. And then Theo is saying Thieves in the Temple, It from Live at Glam Slam is incredible. I am so with you on that, as well as the version on Sign of the Times Live. That's still my definitive version, the one on Sign of the Times Live, particularly, that all right part. And when he leans over the microphone and he does it, I love that part from the Sign of the Times Live. Nothing touches that for me, but Glam Slam is incredible. And I love, hi, Edgar, it's so great to have you here. And yes, this line, because when we do it, girl, it's so divine. All right. It is definitely gospel. It is definitely divine. I feel the spirit whenever I watch that on Sign of the Times. And I've said this multiple times. If I was on my deathbed and I only had to could watch one thing from Prince, it would be that. So that's how powerful it is for me. And then D68A is saying, boy, you bad is supposedly something Jelly Bean Johnson used to say. Okay. Thank you for that. I wasn't aware of that.
I'd be interested to know what parts of that song are in You Got to Look.
Yes,
Just
I would love
curious.
that too, for sure. And then a local artist saying there's so much going on musically and its sparsity is an illusion. It's a musical cobweb. I love that. Everything and nothing is there. Re-listen. I have listened local art for many, many years. I mean, I got that record when it was released in 87. And so, but I will say, to be fair to your re-listen, I recorded the live version of Sign of the Times from the Sign of the Times live VHS on cassette. And that was my version of Sign of the Times that I listened to. So I probably haven't listened to the studio version as much as I have the live version. And I love this comment from Kim. We don't know the condition of the tape, if it was available in terms of the vault. Very true. And Andrew's saying, similar how you remove the bass from When Doves Cry. Will we ever hear that version? That's a good question. I would love to hear all the instruments in it. I would also love to hear the bass in When Doves Cry. And Alex is asking, is it true that the drum beat pattern for it is similar to When Doves Cry?
You know what? I need to hear it, rehear it, but I could see something like that.
Yeah,
very similar, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think of one when I listen to the other. I mean, that's kind of the key for me. Like, does one track remind you of another track? And this just gives me an excuse to. Yeah, sexy. All right, welcome, Reggie. And then we got Blake Brown saying drop digital own releases of alternate tracks from previous deluxe box sets. Dear Estate. Okay, there's a Dear Estate moment from Blade Brown. Got Stone Freak in the house. And LTKK, boy, you bad. You must have had a whole hour just to shake up this place. Okay. And let's see. Edgar is saying, I love how it's great as a proto-industrial electro banger on Sign of the Times and just as great as a semi-acoustic live version, both in 87 and in 92. That lets you know it's a really great song. When you can play it no matter how you flip it, it's just a really, really great song. And Reggie is saying he used the drums from it for When Doves Cry live in 86, 87 live shows a lot. Nice. Thank you so much, Reggie. And yes, and Blake Brown is saying something very similar. So thank you for that. All right. Are we done with Boy You Bad and It? All right. Boy You Bad. So Michael, do you mind reading Wednesday, May 14th?
Yeah. The venue was the Warfield Theater, San Francisco, California. Capacity 2,175, audience unknown. Prince joined the Bangles at the Warfield. Hold on, sorry. Prince joined the Bangles at the Warfield Theater in San Francisco, playing guitar and singing along to Manic Monday and a whole lot of shaking going on, a song he had been performing with the Revolution during the recent series of shows. Unfortunately, not everyone was as familiar with the classic Jerry Lee Lewis track. We pretended to know how to play. We pretended to know how the song went, recalled bassist Michael Steele. We had no idea how to play it. That's funny. On the one.
All right. So this is the Instagram post that the Bangles did couple of days ago when on May 14th. And they say, Throwback Thursday to May 14th, 1986 on the Different Light Tour. Can we talk about the ultimate surprise when we hit the stage at the Warfield Theater in San Francisco? None other than Prince joined us live to jam on Manic Monday and a whole lot of shaking going on. Ultimate Prince, Purple Heart. He knew every single one of our tracks by heart. who out there was lucky enough to catch a show on the 86 tour? Drop your city below. So I just really love this photo, and that they posted it on Instagram is really, really quite cool.
This picture brings all the memories back. I remember this picture back whenever this was, I guess, and it came out. I don't know if it was in Rolling Stone or whatever it was that I saw it back then, but I always was tripping out. I was like, that's Prince? Like, he just looks so, I mean, if you go back into time, he looks so different from his previous thing. And I was just like, wow, like, this dude can do anything. And I just thought it was so cool. I wasn't as familiar with the Bangles aside from like the, hit song or something. But I just was like, at the time, I was like, God, this dude can jump across different genres and be the man and have hits with other stuff. That, to me, yeah, that was just a very important picture back then when I saw that. Really brings it back to see it now. I remember this moment.
Yeah, it's really funny that D6AA points out that this is a cover of a boot, and which I knew, which I think is fantastic that the Bangles, or maybe they have someone doing their social media and they just don't know that the person posted a cover of a boot. But I mean, it's an amazing photo. So, and it's in color, because there's some photos floating from this that's not in color. So I like that this one was in color. And okay. All right. And Eric D is saying it's weird to see P playing a Les Paul. All right.
And it's cool too, though. I guess we saw, they said the band wasn't even familiar with that song. And I can imagine even I would have been like, not have expected Prince to go there. Because everything you knew what a Prince was at that time, and not being around his rehearsal. So having no idea what he was really, how deep he really went. I can imagine it was probably like, whoa, he's not jumping into, 1999 or something that they're probably anticipating. And he went totally left and does a cover way back then. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And Edgar is saying that the Les Paul was borrowed from the Bangles. Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, it's probably quite respectful of him as well, though, isn't it? I mean, he's probably thinking, rather than making them play a song of his that they might not know, I think he's chosen that as perhaps a song that maybe he thinks that everyone would know, or that the band would be like to be able to
right.
But maybe he's just gone back too far, or maybe, I mean, it's sort of, it's interesting when you listen to the recording of it. It's clear they don't know the lyrics, they know the chorus and that, and that's it. But the rest, they're guessing at. But again, I mean, I guess with some of those older songs like that, I guess it's sort of, you don't necessarily know all the lyrics anyway, or maybe it's not important to him that they're all singing the lyrics. It's kind of the chorus and the around that can be the whole performance.
Yes. And we got C. Lee stepping in just for a hot break from his wife's award, Mega Evers Award, to congratulate Brother Thorne on his new book and sending love to everyone. See y'all next week. Thank you so much, C. Lee, for stopping in.
What up, C. Lee? Congratulations to your wife.
Yes. And yes, I agree. It's a fantastic photo of Prince. And Edgar is saying the Bangles did often attach 1999 to Manic Monday when playing live in the 1980s. I think it's nice they did not do that here. I think, out of respect, you don't want to play Prince's song while Prince is on the stage. And D6AA says have the full show uploaded. There's a couple versions of it, so I will add it to the accompanying playlist. Thank you for letting us know, D68A. And Andre is saying maybe after the time he felt it was easier for him to control and mold non-musicians. I don't know what that is referring to. I lost my thread. Oh, I see. So Chris Burnett said, I wonder why Prince never put together a girl group of musicians like the Bangles or Climax. Maybe Third Eye Girl filled that role. I think Third Eye Girl filled that role. Personally, because they came out with Plectrum Electrum, even though, Prince was in the band. So, yeah.
I was just listening to that record the other day. I could see them re-releasing that album years from now, and with a whole different sort of narrative behind it. I think that thing could be amazing. Like, I wasn't as appreciative at the time, but taking a deeper listen now, oof. Yeah, Prince was that's a dope-ass record, man. Heavy record.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so we're going to move to our final reading of this week. Again, this was a very...
That was quick.
Yeah, it's a quick, which is great because Matt is here, because I really would rather talk to Matt. So I was like, the universe conspired and was like, we're talking about this week. Okay, so Thursday, May 15, 1986, Untitled tracking mix, Sunset Sound Studio 3, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Even this is short, just 2 hours, which is booked, open, producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer Susan Rogers. And Wendy, quote, people are blown away that he has so much in the vault, but not all of it. It's great. It's probably should say it is great. Okay. It's like that threw me off. Like I can't read. Okay. On many occasions, Prince would just jam in the studio looking for a song, casting a wide net, unsure what he would catch. I think he just loved being in the studio making music, reflects Peggy Leonard. I think he just loved making music and having state-of-the-art equipment. I love this sentence. Of course he did. I don't think he thought of being in the studio as his job. At the end of a record, most musicians drag themselves in. It's like, okay, let's go. He was never like that. When he got like that, he left, went home. With him, there was never a deadline. If it didn't move him, he was gone. He would just leave. It wasn't like a producer was bugging him to finish a song or anything. Wendy recalls how Prince viewed the difference between a full song and an experimental jam. He wanted to finish everything. He wasn't one of those guys that during the first verse went, this isn't going to work. He finished the idea, but he knew when there wasn't a song there, and he knew when the jam wasn't good enough. Now, I'm going to take just a really quick break, and maybe Matt can understand this because Matt also teaches at a university. So one of the things that really frustrates me about students, and it's getting more and more worse, is that if they feel like it's not working out, they're so quick to abandon an idea when actually the idea is incredible. They just need to do what I call butt and seat time. Like they need to spend some time with it and like figure it out, iterate it, rethink some more. So one of the things I really loved about Prince was that he was a finisher. Mm-hmm. And I think this is like one of the key things that we can take from Prince. And I really love this quote because, and it says, even if he finished the idea and he knew when there wasn't a song there, he knew when the jam wasn't good enough, but he still finished it, which I think is a really important idea. And next it says, it seems that Prince left for France after this 2-hour session and he returned home within a few days. Status. And I wonder if he went to France to do some more Under Cherry Moon stuff. I don't know. It is unknown if the track from today's session was ever released in any form. So I would love to hear what that sounds like, but it's untitled. So who knows how they could.
And he's probably had so many days of this throughout his career where it's just like, yeah, okay, whatever it was, boom, and then didn't think nothing of it. It's just put it in the vault.
I completely agree. I mean, that's one of my favorite quotes in the whole of Duane's book, I think, is, just that sense of finishing the idea and sticking with it, going all the way through it. Because lots of the time as well, things don't show up in the process until really late on. I mean, when you look at lots of not just Prince albums, but lots of musicians, they keep going with something, they don't really know what's there, and it can take months, years, sometimes for it all to come to fruition. And I think that's, the other sort of interesting thing about it is obviously when he did it, he had no idea that Duane would be writing this book or that we'd all be talking about it or these events going on.
True.
So it's interesting that that you could say, well, he's doing it because he wanted to constantly create artistry, which he did, but he didn't know. He was doing it blind. At that time he had no idea whether this session was going to work or not. Didn't matter. I mean, I also like the fact that he was completing things that he knew wouldn't work. I mean, that's one of the amazing things about Prince is that, that there's all this stuff that doesn't work. And when people say, not all of the stuff in the vault is gold, I sort of think, well, it's all interesting. I mean, it's, when we were talking earlier about it and different versions of it, I don't think we've reached the stage yet where they're releasing lots of alternate versions of songs. But, other artists, the Beach Boys or Bob Dylan, there are endless versions of all their outtakes, whether it's online or in physical form. So I think, for people who are interested in Prince, all of this is interesting. Even if you hear a song and go, okay, no, I can see why he put one side, I can see why that didn't work. That in itself, observing his creative, I mean, he's one of the very few, the creative process, you said it, creative process. He's one of the very few that's like that. You know, I mean, who else is there where you want to hear absolutely everything that they did, and it's always going to be interesting. It's always going to tell you more about them.
You know, you could probably say that about a lot of artists. Some we may not care about, but somebody probably does. Like, I can see how that would be interesting. Like, I would love to hear, you know, I'm just throwing somebody out there, Raphael Sadiq or something. Even the stuff probably wouldn't be something you would sell, but I would find it interesting to hear. Oh, you had a different bass line on that part, or you know, I'm sure a lot of artists have that. It's just we've never had opportunities, or there was never platforms for them to put out those types of things, which could be something that artists could do on their own today. Now, you know, having the foresight to say, okay, I saw what Prince did. God, he didn't have the internet, or there wasn't just a mechanism for him to put stuff out. Now I can, you know, I can put out all the different versions of the song. My fans will like it, maybe not the general public, but you know, so it's interesting. And we're in interesting times.
And you know, he changed the way he did it. You know, like later on, we were talking about Third Eye Girl. You know, all those occasions where he would just start jamming in the middle of the night and then put it up on live stream.
Right, absolutely.
So that's probably what if that technology had been available at this time, who wouldn't have wanted to watch Prince from 2 to 4 in the morning?
Right. Oh man, can you imagine? It would have been nuts.
Insane for sure. All right. So so far in 1986, Prince has done 62 studio sessions that we know of. That's the reason why there's an asterisk, and it should really be an asterisk by 28 new songs as well. What we know in terms of Duane's books and so the new tracks, again, for those who are just joining us, are Boy You Bad, which is unreleased, and another untitled track. But it was recorded this week, which is incredible, which would end up on Sound of the Times. And then so far in 86, there have been 6 guest appearances. And 3 of them have been with Sheila E., one with Maserati, another American Music Awards, and then now with the Bangles. So I'm going to go through this really quickly, but this is kind of important to me. This is the salon part. So if you only want Prince, you can log off right now if you want. It's totally fine, even though we will talk about Prince some more with the Prince section. So Is God Is released, and I'm going to see it today, actually. I'm really excited about this. I'm a huge fan of Sterling K. Brown, and a lot of different people are in it. I love to go to the theaters, but I used to go to the theater every single week for probably a decade, but I don't do that anymore. So for something to get me in a theater, I'm very excited about this. Another one that I'm excited about that's coming out next week is I Love Boosters, which is directed by Boots Riley. And I love that they have 8 different posters, for actually 9 different posters that I've seen so far. And this is my favorite one. It's just the typographic treatment. I'm really excited. Lakeith Stanfield is one of my favorite actors. I absolutely love him. He's the main reason why I'm going to see this film, but I also love Don Cheadle, who's also in this film. And there will also be Taylor Page, which is one of my favorite actresses. So I'm very excited. And my favorite poster is obviously Lakeith Stanfield out of the 8 posters. So I love that they're doing this promo campaign of all of these posters. And I love Lakeith's character is called Pinky Ring Guy. So that's Pinky Ring. And for those of you who don't know what boosters or boosting is about, it's like when people steal clothes and resell them. For those of you who know, what? Yes, Edgar. See, I'm glad that I have a fellow designer in the house. Edgar understands what's going on. I think it was incredible. I love the typographic treatment and all of that. So yeah, very excited.
They actually, I don't know if it was the world premiere, but they played this movie. It was across the street from my job.
Oh wow! Okay.
A week ago or 2 weeks ago or so, and I think the cast was there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a part of the film festival, I think.
So Seattle had a film festival, and Boots was out there talking about this movie. Now, for those of you who may not know who Boots Riley is, his previous film also had Lakeith in it. It was called Don't Bother.
Sorry to bother you.
Sorry to bother you. Sorry to bother you.
Boots is a rapper. Who was the Click?
Yeah, he was
from the Bay Area. Bay Area legend.
I love that he's pivoting. I mean, he's an incredible filmmaker. So, a lot of people who are, musicians or just creative are creative in so many different ways, not just in one lane. So it's really great to see that.
You know, speaking of movies, real quick, I haven't seen it, but I saw it come across my screen. Anderson Paak, is that his name?
Anderson
He's
Paak.
got a movie out. I think it's him and his son. If I'm not mistaken, it's called K-Pops. Like he's the pop. There's something about his kid from America, I think, goes to Korea and about becoming a K-pop star or something. It's a music movie, but it's Anderson Paak. Like I said, I just saw it come across my thing. I haven't heard anything about it, but looks interesting. But I will say there's one other movie I want to recommend. I watched it last night. It's called Night Patrol, I believe. And I will say it is this. It is to sinners what Menace to Society is to Boys in the Hood. So it is, but it's based in South Central Los Angeles. Now times. Essentially, it is Crips and the Bloods and some black nationalists versus LAPD vampires. That's all I will say. Fantastic movie. There's a lot. There's rappers are in it. Say it again.
You said Night Patrol?
I believe it's called Night Patrol.
Okay.
At first you think the movie is, some gangbanging police procedural, and then it goes. And man, it is one hilarious, but also it takes itself serious. It is a horror, is over the top, but it has, I don't know who made this movie. They obviously knew us. You got to see it, man. I don't know why it's not getting promoted, but it is on digital. Night Patrol, it just came out. I love it. I got to watch it again.
Okay. Well, that's great. All right. I'm going to watch it, Michael Dean. Thank you for letting it, because I love films that cross genres. And and also I'm a vampire genre junkie. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's got it all in there. I can't think of the name of these. I've seen these people before. I just can't think of their names, but they're known people. And, they use the real lingo. It's just, it's like what Sinners was to me. It's just the LA version. And then the last I will say, I'm about to go see for the third time today. Michael, if you ain't seen it already, go check it out. Stop.
All right.
Back on IMAX.
Okay, so Carol is going to connect Boots for us to Prince, which is awesome, so that we can say there's a connection to Prince. Boots is Walter Riley's son and was head of the Coup, known for party music featuring Purple Pam, Prince's DJ for his after parties in his last year, also known as Pam the Funktress. Thank you, Carol. I so appreciate that. All right. So next up is our music break. I'm going to try to, and Christina's saying I saw Michael last week and loved it. And Purple Cat Confetti's, I love your best friend, but watch nothing but vampire movies. I some to honor her. I could watch vampire movies or series all day, every day. I love the vampire genre. Okay. Music break. I'll try to go through this really quickly. Two of my favorite people on the planet. And one photo, I just was overjoyed when I saw Bilal with Sheila E. I think that the West Coast is the best coast right now with the Blue Note, the opening of the Blue Note in Los Angeles. They have been having the best shows. So Bilal was there. So I'm assuming that Sheila came to see Bilal, which is actually incredible to think about because, as you know, I love me some Bilal. And I'm putting this here for me. I can't wait for this single to be released to remind me. It is Willow and Mohini Day, one of my favorite bassists. They're coming out with a new single called Extroverted Soul. And Mohini Day played a little snippet of the song. It sounds insane, so I can't wait to hear that. And then we already talked about Celebrate Brooklyn last week, but I want everybody to know that Sheila E. is opening Celebrate Brooklyn on June 4th. It is free. So all you have to do is just show up. It's free. And doors open at 6, show at 7. So this is really exciting. And also DJ Spinna, who is one of the best DJs on the planet, will be spinning. And this is the whole lineup for Celebrate Brooklyn from June, July, and August. As you can see, Sheila, Patty. I'm also looking forward to Cindy Blackman. And there's also going to be the 35th anniversary of Lyricist Lounge. There's also a brick celebration of Aaliyah. So there's going to be a lot going on for Celebrate Brooklyn. All these shows are free. So again, if you're in the tri-state area, I would definitely come and see some of these shows. And in addition to Celebrate Brooklyn, there's also Summer Stage. All of these shows are free as well. And the one that I won't be able to see because I'm going to be somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to be, but I don't think I'll be able to come see Omar. So Omar, again, is a UK, treasure. And anytime Omar comes to the States, you need to go. So this is going to be free in Central Park. So I'm very excited about that. And then Bilal is also going to be free in Brooklyn on July 12th. I'm very excited about that. And then Mavis Staples is also going to be free at Central Park on July 16th. Very excited about that. And then there's also the Blue Note Festival. These you have to pay for. Very excited for Duran Bernard. And one of the things you'll notice is that our Purple Fam, Chris Robb, is listed twice. Chris will be featured with Slum Village, and Chris Robb is also doing the official Blue Note Jazz Fest Midnight Jam. So Robb playing twice during the Blue Note Jazz Festival in New York City. And there's also a Blue Note Jazz Festival in LA. And there you can see Patti LaBelle, Wyclef John and Samara Joy, Robert Glasper, a lot of people. Herbie Hancock. Oh,
Institute
of Jazz performance. So
Arsenio?
Yes, hosted by Arsenio.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so very, very excited about the one thing I love about summer, at least in New York, what's really great about being in New York is that this is when the free music happens, and there's always so many amazing, incredible musicians, and I'm sure it's the same in LA and other major cities, but it's nothing like New York and LA for the summertime, the free festivals and things. All right.
And the honeys are out to play.
Okay. So, as everybody,
I'm just singing Prince.
I love that you're connecting it to Prince, Michael. That's totally fine. We're gonna
in summer. All right.
All right. So, as everybody should know by now, I love me some Bilal. So, Bilal's going on summer. Bilal is really hot right now. You've never seen Bilal. I mean, when I mean hot, meaning like he is on fire in terms of like his vocals, his band. It is like incendiary, the performances I've seen the past couple years, and I have seen him for 20, 25 years performing live. He is in his prime. Now it's the time to go see him if you haven't seen him. So he's doing a European summer tour in July, and then he's coming back to the States in September, and then we'll talk about some other shows. This is another one of my favorite musicians on the planet, Flying Lotus, and I have never seen him with a full live band. I've always seen him do DJ sets. So seeing him with a live band is going to be amazing, and he's doing it not only for Blue Note New York, but also Blue Note Los Angeles. And I wish that more musicians would follow suit, because I'm getting so sad that all of these musicians are playing in Los Angeles, like Willow. They're not playing in New York.
That dude is in that movie I just talked about.
Oh, is he?
I was looking at his picture. I'm like, it's so familiar. And I just looked up the cast. Yeah, he's in the movie.
Oh, well, now I gotta see it. Okay, that's all you had to say. Flying Lotus.
I've never heard of him before, but I just the distinctive look.
Oh, Michael.
Yeah, he's in this movie.
Yeah, you got to listen to Flying Lotus. I don't know if you would like him. I love him. He actually, let me go ahead. Let me just go. So,
what's old girl's from Insecure name?
Yeah.
I'm like her. So when you say anything black, okay.
Yes. Okay, so speaking of Flying Lotus, because of the symposium, I totally didn't get the memo that he just released a brand new EP called Big Mama. So I don't know, Michael, if you should start with Big Mama. I would probably start with Cosma Grandma, or like he's released so many albums. He's based on the West Coast. He's actually related to.
I've heard of his name. I just never seen his face or anything.
Yeah. He's an incredible musician. He used to do music for Adult Swim. he's just like really, 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 really incredible.
Yeah, no Patrol. Get on it.
Yeah.
Get
All right.
on it.
So yes, Reggie B. He's from the Coltrane family tree, and if you listen to his music, it makes so much sense. And see, Kim even says you got to get into Fly Low. That's what
Oh, that's how the cool one say it.
Yeah,
Fly Low. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So, okay. Kim says Issa Rae is their birthday twin. Rooting for everybody Black. All right. Okay. Let's see what I got here. Oh. Everybody knows, and this doesn't happen a lot
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows that Alice Smith is my favorite living vocalist, and she is performing in DC on July 18th, Lincoln Theater. Since Michael mentioned Sinners, she sung the last song in Sinners. That's Alice Smith, and she's done a lot of soundtrack work. I'm blanking on names today for some reason, so I won't try to remember, but you've heard her.
What's her famous song? I have one song by her that I play all the time. I just don't know what it's called.
I don't know.
Somebody put me up on it. Yes, called.
Well, the how she's famous for Prince, because we got to connect this all back to Prince, or some people are gonna freak out. Is that Prince covers Alice Smith on Plectrum Electrum with Another Love. So Another Love was originally written by Alice Smith. And to be honest, because I heard Alice Smith's version first, because I'm an Alice Smith fan, I prefer Alice's version over Prince's version, but they really sound nothing alike except for the lyrics. So that is the Prince connection. And also she performed with Prince when he was at one of the city wineries in New York. And then she also participated in one of the Questlove Carnegie Hall tributes to Prince. So yeah, see, Kim and I are.
Or something?
Say that again?
Be Easy or something? Is that it?
Well, Be Easy. Yeah, Be Easy is one of her songs.
Maybe that's the song that that's the one
I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs. If you have not seen Alice Smith live, you have not lived. I mean, just do your Googles, as Michael Dean would say. Michael, just Google say Alice Smith live. Trust me, you will be transfixed. You will be just it's she's I don't know. She's very powerful. Her voice is very powerful. Yes, a really good performance would be if you Google Alice Smith Afropunk. That's the one. And one of my favorite songs that she sings is called She. There's so many. I won't go on and on and on because we want to talk to Matt about his book. Okay, so got to go see Alex. But I love, if Edgar's still here, I absolutely love this flyer. It's so dope. I love it. I love it. So, all right. And
I got you, Heavenly.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I love that, Heavenly. That's a really great suggestion. Ooh. I don't know if I saw Alice at Joe's Pub, because Joe's Pub has an amazing sound system. Okay. And yes, I know. Thank you, Theo. I get this so much. It's so funny. Thank you. And I don't get it. Okay. So Bilal is going to be performing nothing but Prince songs with DJ Rashida in LA again. LA seems to be the best coast right these days on September 25th. I'm so excited about this. So, all right. So we're getting back to Prince. So let's get to the Purple World. Again, we've been talking about this. There's going to be a Prince conference in Minneapolis. If you go on during Celebration, right before Celebration, I'm not involved with this. It's hosted by the International Center for Prince Studies. Then everybody should know that about Celebration. I'm excited because Bilal is also going to be performing during Celebration. So I am ecstatic about that. But you also got Tevin Campbell and Morris Day and Miguel and Kat Graham and a combination of the MPG and the Revolution. So that should be really, really exciting. And then you're going to have Shaka Khan as well as DJ Rashida again, Liv Warfield, and Ashley Tamar. So that should be fantastic performances. And then there's going to be the Purple Takeover in New Orleans that we've talked about. We haven't talked about this PRN alumni meet and greet that's happening during Celebration, which will be Saturday, June 6th. And we also haven't talked about, because this has just been released, there's going to be a Live for Love charity event like they did in LA. So if you were jealous, now you can see it in Minneapolis during Celebration, which is really exciting. Hosted by Maite and featuring the one and only Sheila E. That's very, very exciting. On June 7th, which we all should know is Prince's birthday. And for those of you who don't know, there is going to be an amazing annual Paisley Midwest party honoring the legacy of Prince with Eric Leeds and Atlanta Bliss. Eric Rogers is doing the thing. I love this. And that's going to be August 21st through 23rd. And we're going to take a really quick book break before we get to Matt's book. So we're almost there. For those of you who are waiting to hear from Matt, like me, Cassie is re-releasing her book. And if I remember correctly, I think she said that there's going to be an additional chapter to this. So if you already have a version, this is going to be like an expanded edition. And this is going to be on June 2nd. And for those of you who don't know, Cassie Ritchie is a fashion historian who did their PhD on Prince's fashion. So I'm very excited about this particular book release. This is the book I've been waiting almost my entire adult life for. A biography by Danielle Maggio, who actually knew Betty and actually did her PhD dissertation on Betty Davis. So this is coming out in February 2027, but you can already pre-order it. That's the reason why, and I have already pre-ordered it because I am ready for this book. For those of you who don't know, I did a Betty Davis symposium like a week before I did the Love Sexy symposium, and everybody and their mama should know who Betty Davis is. So I'm hoping that this book will give her more exposure. And the name of the book is Game is her middle name. All right. So for me, Sanique, it is Betty Davis. Yes, she was married to a very famous musician, but Betty was a musician in her own right. And she wrote her own music. She wrote her own lyrics. She was very revolutionary. And she does not need to be affiliated with her husband. She can stand on her own because she was powerful. All right. And yes, thank you, Purple Cat Confetti. Mono Neon is going to be at the Dakota. I knew I forgot something, so thank you so much. And we are 1 p.m. Look at that. We're going to have we can talk up to an hour with Matt Thorne. That's the way I wanted it to be. So I can't wait. And I love that Christina's got their ticket to Mono Neon. And yes, Mila, I love this. I love that a lot more people are looking into Betty because of Beyonce's post last year. Yes, for sure. All right. Okay. So for those of you who do not know, and if you need a connection to Prince, our guest today, Matt Thorne, wrote a whole book. How many pages it is, Matt? It's like 500 and something.
That boy steak, boy.
I think it's even big. In the last edition, it's about 650. I think there was a even bigger stuff at the end. So
yeah.
Man.
So just so you know, Matt Thorne is Purple People, and Matt has written an entire book on Prince. When did the first edition come out, and then when did this updated edition come out?
So it first came out in 2012, and there's been various updated editions. That one I think was like 2014, but then there was a newer one that was like 2025. So, and there's American editions as well. So it's been in lots of different editions. I kept adding to it as as things changed and as the story developed.
Yes, and I saw earlier that Big Sexy purchased this Prince book right now.
Oh wow! Oh, thank you.
So that's really fantastic. More people should purchase Matt's book. Now, if you take Duane's book off the table, and the reason why I love Duane's book is because I'm a calendar person. I love dates. And so like the dates and the studio is really important to me. So we love Duane's book. Duane, if you look at this, because sometimes Duane looks at this. But if you take Duane out of the picture, My favorite Prince book is Matt Thorne's Prince book.
Okay.
So, and as you know, there are a gazillion Prince books out there. So if you want to expand your Prince collection and you don't know which one to buy Matt Thorne's.
Thank you so much. I really
Yes.
appreciate that.
And Edgar's saying I have multiple versions of Matt's book. He says it was severely butchered in the Dutch translation.
That's actually true, Edgar. Yeah, I mean, when it first came out, there's a section in the back of the book where I was writing about the 21 shows Prince did in London at the O2, and I have a sort of diary in it where I go, because I went to 19 of the shows and 14 of the after shows. And then with the Dutch publication, they said they wanted to cut that bit out because, I don't know, it was weird when it came out. People didn't want that sort of, because the rest of the book is sort of telling the story of his whole career over many years. But that section, I wanted to write about the specific experience of seeing a lot of Prince shows in a row. And for some reason, when it was with the Dutch editors, they said, no, nobody wants to hear that. So they cut that bit out. So, and that was the only country. Everywhere else, it's been translated all over the world, but everywhere else was happy with it. But now, looking back on it, yeah, no, I don't know why. And looking back on it, I feel like that's a really important document. I mean, I think it was because I wrote it when he was still alive, and people thought, oh well, everybody can get to go and see Prince. But now I think, in a situation where sadly it's no longer possible to see Prince live, I think it stands up as an important part of the book. A record of there's lots of other bits about other shows, and I saw about 100 shows over the summer. I mean, in total as a fan, but I spent 7 years writing the book as well, and I saw lots and lots of shows I was following around during that period. So, so that to me, the live part of it, it's not the whole of it, but it's part of it. Thanks, Egg.
Yes. So, but we're not here today to talk about that book because Matt has been on here before, and we talked about the Prince book for a long time. So I just got to figure out which episode that is. So I will let you know next time because I forgot to include that. So don't be disappointed because we're not talking about the Prince book today. We are talking about Matt's brand new book, which is called Famous: Ego, Envy, and Ambition in Pop, Rock, and Hip Hop. And, as I do, I really do believe in having physical books when they're important to you. And before we get started, Matt, I will say that this is one of the best printed books ever. I love the paper stock. I love how it really sits pretty flat for a book like this. And I love the type size because another book I'm reading right now and it's a fantastic book, is Jeff Chang's. It's called Water Mirror Echo, about Bruce Lee. But the type is so small and you can't, because it's so thick, it's hard to read it. And I don't want to read it on a Kindle. And so I was reading this when I got your book and I was like, oh my God, this is so refreshing. And also it's something about the paper quality because in this Bruce Lee book, you can kind of see the next page, it kind of bleeds through. But with your paper, it's I don't know, it's just something about this print. It's really incredible. And then I also love, if you take off just the spine, it's so kind of Shepherd Fairey. I don't know if you know about Shepherd Fairey. Yeah. I'm a huge Andre the Giant babe because he's Southern. No, I'm Southern. He's from Tennessee. So I really love that feel from it. Also very Sex Pistols, in terms of some of their graphics as well. And then before we get into the book, I'm sorry, I'll stop talking, but I just want to tell you some things that I love about the book. Now, you could have chosen any number of the pairs that you talk about in the book, but I really love that you have Tina Turner and David Bowie, two of my favorite icons, on the cover. So I don't know if everyone can see, but these are the different pairs that Matt talks about in the book. So you have Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley, Paul McCartney and Diana Ross, Lou Reed and Paul Simon, Chuck Berry and Keith Richards, David Bowie and Tina Turner, Madonna and Tupac, and I still say Kanye and Taylor Swift. short-lived. So these are the pairs. So I want to start off by asking you, of all the pairs, why did you choose Bowie and Tina Turner to go on the cover? Because these are some pretty iconic pairs.
So thanks for all the comments about the design and the way it looks. I mean, my editor, Lee Braxton at White Rabbit, really cares about the quality of a book. I mean, White Rabbit only does music books, or primarily does music books. There's a couple of novels, but it's primarily music books. And he's always, he did my Prince book at Faber. So when he moved to White Rabbit, I moved with him. So he's always really been interested in design. And the cover was done by a young new designer called Henry at the company. It was the first cover she's done, I think, or one of the first ones. And, I was really delighted when I saw what she came up with, and it was really, really beautiful. But so there's in the book, as you'll see, there's pictures at the start of every chapter for each of the pairings. And we looked at all the different pairings, and it just felt like that picture of Tina Turner and David Bowie just, well, we were looking at that as the cover, and then potentially there was another one because Keith Richards is also in the book. So there's a famous one of Keith Richards, David Bowie, and Tina Turner with them all drinking. I think it's Tina Turner sort of forcing a bottle of champagne up to David Bowie's lips, and Keith Richards is in the back with the whiskey. And we considered that one, but I just love this one because the way they're laughing, it seems like it doesn't feel entirely, it doesn't seem entirely natural, but it feels. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of somewhere between feeling like they've said, just laugh, and then they've actually started laughing. It's sort of stilted. But also, yeah, exactly. So there's just something about it that really, I don't know, that really sort of summed up Fame for me. That notion of being forced to laugh on cue and still looking great while you're doing it. Yeah, and it does have that sort of slightly tabloid look as well, because it is about Fame. But the book doesn't have a tabloid quality, hopefully.
Yes, and let's see, Edgar's saying it was on back order for a while. I wanted the hardcover, but my local bookstore received it on Wednesday due to a national holiday. I have not been able to pick it up yet. Next week, I'll pick it up. Edgar, I highly recommend that you pick it up, and everybody else who's watching. And I'm not just saying this because Matt is a guest and a dear friend, but it's actually a very good book. As I shared with Matt before we went live, I'm going to be honest, I was a little suspect just in terms of the structure of the book, because I'm a deep dive kind of person. And I was like, oh, you're just going to get a chapter each on these iconic people. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if it's going to keep my interest. Maybe it's going to be too superficial, thin. It is the exact opposite. I was engrossed. As I told Matt, I was just going to read one chapter. I was going to read the Bowie and Tina Turner chapter because I have Tina Turner on my walls and I worked with David Bowie. So I was just going to read that one and just quit it. But I was like, okay, I got to read Madonna, Tupac. Now I got to read Frank. And then just like, it's a really good book. I couldn't put it down. And, every day when I go to work and get off work, I'm just like, I want to read this book. It's so well written. And I was explaining to you, Matt, it's just like you pack so much in these chapters in terms of information. But it's also very funny. It's just your writing style. Sometimes I just crack up. So yes, you should definitely run to get Matt's book. I highly suggest that. And I love this too, Chris Bournet, that a Black woman is on the cover. Not an obvious choice for a lot of publishers. But another thing that I love about this is that they are peers. Tina Turner and David Bowie are peers, and they should be seen as such. And that's one of the points that I love that you make in the book, is that there's a lot of books on Bowie, not a lot on Tina Turner in terms of, like obviously there's a lot of autobiographies that Tina did herself, which I think are also very important for her to, give her own story. And that's like one of the regrets I have with Prince, is that he wasn't able to finish the beautiful ones, because the little that we got is so incredible. Can you imagine what it would have been like if we could have gotten the whole thing? So it's really important for them to speak, in their own words. So I'm going to ask another question, and I'm sure you probably will figure out what it's going to be, and also to satisfy some of our audience. So why isn't Prince in one of these pairings? Because you could have connected your previous book to this book. And I thought about it, especially after reading this, because it really seems to be keen on the collaborative nature of the two artists and pairings. So you couldn't do Michael Jackson and Prince, which would be kind of the obvious thing. So I was thinking perhaps Prince and Mavis Staples, or Prince and Patti LaBelle, or Prince and Larry Graham, people like that. So I'm curious, why isn't Prince as a through line, even though Prince is all over the book, just so everybody knows, he is in the book, but not as one of the pairings.
Yeah. So, I mean, thank you for all that, though. I mean, I really appreciate everything you're saying. And the thing about it, the sort of the deep dive nature, right? It took me 7 years to write, and it's pretty much a chapter a year. So it was an enormous amount of effort that went into the chapters, but a lot of it was about condensing it as well. But the thing about whether or not to, I mean, of course, I talked about that and thought about it, and whether or not to do, I mean, Prince and Michael Jackson obviously is the obvious one. But I felt with that it didn't really, there wasn't that much that came out of it. With each of these meetings, I want to be something really significant that came out of it. And I also wanted them to be equals, or at least equals, and I felt like, who's equal to Prince? I mean, I know some people will say Michael Jackson's equal to Prince. For me, he's not, because I just love Prince so much. And he's, I mean, they're both obviously incredibly talented and, equally famous. But for me, Prince is the, is the man. But also thinking about talking about Tina Turner, I mean, the starting point for that chapter was that when Tina Turner worked with David Bowie on the Tonight album, some of the producers said terrible things. They were saying that David Bowie had debased himself by working with Tina Turner, and that's just the most outrageous, awful thing that you could possibly say. And it kind of became something that was thought of. So I really wanted to show the history of Tina Turner's work, the incredible stuff that she did with Ike, the song, the lyricist, she's an amazing lyricist. And when she, left Ike, one of the things, she wanted her name, but she sort of gave up a lot of the songs that she'd written. And so, and David Bowie knew all of that. He knew she was an incredible songwriter as well as an incredible singer. I mean, obviously there are some people in the book who, like Frank Sinatra, who mainly sing and didn't write songs. So I'm not saying that not writing songs is not important, but the fact that Tina Turner wrote all these incredible songs, things like Kay Got Laid, Joe Got Paid, there's whole albums in the middle where she wrote the majority of the albums, and that's totally disregarded and not thought of since then. So I really but David Bowie knew that, and and he was really clear of her talent. He took the whole record company to go and watch her live when they signed him, and it was really just the kind of like trying to put them back on at least an equal level, And then the same thing with Paul McCartney and Diana Ross. So that started with this. That Paul McCartney went to watch Diana Ross and the Supremes when they played in London in a supper club called Talk of the Town. And at the end of the show, Paul McCartney was asked what he thought of the performance, and he said, well, it's the showbiz event of the year. And that always sounded like not necessarily a criticism, but underestimating everything that the Supremes had gone through, everything that they had worked for. And, yes, of course, showbiz is part of it, but it was an enormous amount of artistry in that show as well. This was an incredible performance. And I talked to some people who were there and were giving their account. And it was that sort of interesting thing about, so much is written about the Beatles, so much is written about Paul McCartney. As you say, there are lots of biographies of both. Well, Tina Turner wrote, three biographies and another book as well. But there isn't as much kind of critical appraisal. And there does seem to be a sense that as important as Diana Ross and the Supremes are, the Supremes don't get as much attention as they should do for their work, for their albums. Little things like finding out, I knew a little bit about this, but I hadn't realized just how almost all of the Supremes albums are concept albums, and that they were doing that at a time when people hadn't even conceived of that, So it was really just looking through history, looking at all the ways that people have been disregarded at different times, particularly black musicians and particularly black female musicians, and just sort of wondering why that was, and just trying to take away all the previous criticism, take away all the ways in which they've been interpreted, and just look at their work and to put the work comparatively next to each other.
Yeah, I'm so happy actually that you mentioned that it took you about a year per chapter, because when I was reading this, I was like, the amount of research is insane in these chapters. So it totally makes sense that it was roughly a year per chapter. And one of the things, there was just so many like Easter eggs and things that I wasn't aware of. Like, for instance, that you just stated about the Supremes. Like, I had never thought, oh my God, they are all concept albums and they don't get any credit for that, for any, so I just really love like all of these really important points that you're making throughout the entire book. Is really phenomenal. Now, because we're friends, I have to let you know, because you mentioned this in the book, that Tonight is one of my favorite Bowie albums of all time. It's probably it, like, so one of my, I love Station to Station. I love Aladdin Sane because The Secret Life of Arabia is my favorite Bowie song of all time. But I didn't grow up with those, you know what I mean? But I lived with Tonight. Like, it came out while I was, in my, record collection and collecting, and I just really love Tonight. And no one ever talks about that record. And I played it to death. So when I started, I was like, oh my God, Matt loves Tonight as well. I knew that was the reason why I love him so. So that was like really phenomenal. I think it's really important that, especially now more than ever, that Tina gets her flowers, and you really give her flowers in this book. Now, one of my questions I had, because like I told you, I read the David Bowie and Tina Turner chapter first before I read your intro, because one of my questions was going to be why the order of the book, but you actually explain it in your intro. So for those of you who will pick this book up, can you talk to us about why the order that you have with the chapters?
Yeah, absolutely. So it follows pretty much a chronological order, except for two cases, and that's with Chuck Berry and Keith Richards and David Bowie and Tina Turner. And that's because it happened. The collaborations happened at more or less the same time, and so it's all sort of happening around the same year. But I kind of felt that with Chuck Berry and Keith Richards, it was going back to the past, and it was Keith Richards trying to give Chuck Berry everything that he thought he deserved. But again, I wanted to play around with that. So the chapter, it sort of, a lot of this grew out of writing about Prince, so to sort of connect it back to Prince for people. So a lot of the things here came about through listening to bootlegs, listening to unreleased stuff, listening to all these different recordings. And also it was during the pandemic as well, so to begin with at least. So I had lots of time to go through Supreme's live recordings, for example. But with Chuck Berry, I found this amazing live recording of a show in Toronto where he sacks the band on stage. And every bit of Chuck Berry's dialogue is amazing. It's like I just wanted to use that verbatim. He just drags down everybody on stage, and so he would do this thing where he would go around and he would play shows, but he wouldn't take a band with him. So he would just say to whoever organised the show, "Get me a band." And often it would just be a load of college people who, kids who were just learning to play. And then sometimes they would just play and it would be amazing. And other times he would be furious because they're not. I mean, and it also connected earlier. I thought it was interesting when we were talking about a whole lot of shaking going on. It was a similar sort of thing, that Chuck Berry thought that everybody should know Chuck Berry songs. And also they shouldn't add any frills. They shouldn't, they should just play the songs as simply as possible. And this time the band are all trying to do interesting things and he turns around and shouts at them one by one. So I was paralleling that and comparing that to the fact that Keith Richards has done this incredibly big show for Hell, Rock and Roll, the movie. He put together, he had this sense that he thought Chuck Berry should have an amazing band behind him, try to make it as professional as possible, but without realizing, I think, that what Chuck Berry really responded to, and again, it's similar to Prince in some ways, he really liked the liveliness of a band behind them. He liked the fact that the band would be doing lots of different things. He liked the fact he didn't want everybody to be like necessarily, the world's most famous musicians. I mean, every musician who worked with Prince was incredible, of course, but they weren't necessarily always the most famous musicians. So, of course, Chuck Berry's going to feel incredibly restricted when he's told, and in the film he talks about the whole performance is taking place around the corner from a cinema that he wasn't allowed into as a child, and there are all these sort of complicated things going on. And then Chuck Berry's Keith Richards is kind of blind to all of this. So he wasn't really, for me, although I think he was doing something, essentially kind-hearted and good-natured for Chuck Berry, I don't think he understood the artistry of the man, and I don't think he understood what was going on. So there was that. But that was pointing backwards to Chuck Berry being an originator. And with David Bowie and Tina Turner, they were both futurists. They both thought about the future all the time. Tina Turner, she turned down the opportunity to be in The Color Purple because she wanted to be in sci-fi films. So she wanted to be in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. She wanted to, she was really into science fiction, you know, a lot of the music has a science fiction quality. Similarly with David Bowie, he was interested in science fiction. I mean, there are all these incredible connections between David Bowie and Tina Turner going back. Like they were both considered for the role of the Acid Queen in Tommy.
That's insane. That was another detail. I was like, really?
Yeah. So there's so that was the reason, really. That one was going, the Chuck Berry one was pointing backwards, and David Bowie and Tina Turner was pointing forwards. And of course, you know, as well as Tonight, the other thing they did together was the Pepsi commercial, which was kind of like a parody of Weird Science, again, which is a really odd commercial. Looking at it now, you know, it's the idea that David Bowie's playing this mad professor in his laboratory, and he's putting together the perfect woman, and then he spills some Pepsi on the printer, and out comes Tina Turner. I mean, it's funny and entertaining, but you know, again, it's this sort of idea of not really taking Tina Turner as a whole person potentially. And I don't think that was David Bowie's fault. I think it was the producers behind the commercial. But it, you know, all of that, how she was being used, I think is really interesting, you know, because she was a megastar at the same time, and I just think her story is so, you know, if anybody is at the center of this book, for me it's her.
I mean, I think you bring, I want to say a couple things. If you haven't seen, I want to say it's called I, Tina, but the HBO documentary about Tina Turner, you need to watch it, because there was one phone call from a producer or something that said negative things about Tina, and it was on, you know, that they had the recording of it. My jaw dropped. Like, obviously we know racism exists, and that it is really difficult for women, let alone Black women, and rock, you know, to like survive and persist. But it was just so blatant that, you know, and if that was just one instance, I can't imagine, you know, what all that she had to deal with, you know, as a musician, and such a great musician. And so you got to watch that documentary in addition to reading Matt's book, because I think that's really, really critical. The one thing I also want to say, Matt, and you'll understand this after, you know, being here for the entire episode, which I really appreciate, because you could have just like, I don't have time for this. I just want to come and talk about my book. So this just shows us how much of a Prince person you are. But you talk about film so much throughout this book, because I thought it was just going to be about music. But what I find interesting, at least in all the chapters that I've read so far, there's a lot of film that you talk about where all of these artists, you know, are. And so one of the things I really want to do, which I don't know if I ever do, there are so many references to films, to, you know, live recordings, like to really, I think, dive deep into this book. You really need to maybe read it one time, but then go back and then just create a list of all the films and music that you need to listen to, because there's just you just pack a punch in all of these chapters. It's like really, really insane. So one of the things that I wasn't aware of, so you have to understand, Matt, because I'm a Prince fan, and Prince's discography, his body of work is so massive that it does not allow you to really do deep dives into everybody else's catalog, because I'm still going through Prince's catalog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that being said, you know, I've seen maybe, you know, some clips from Elvis Presley movies. My favorite Frank Sinatra, I only have one favorite Frank Sinatra album, and it's Strangers in the Night, because I love that because it was orchestrated by Nelson Riddle. And that's like the only Frank Sinatra album I need, because it's just so perfect. And there was a time when Columbia put out a full box set of all Frank Sinatra songs. It came in like a suitcase or something. I didn't have the money at the time to buy it, because I think I was in my late teens or early 20s when it came out. I did buy the Ray Charles Total thing. That was like totally different. So I say all to say that I really don't know a lot about Frank Sinatra. Obviously, I know who he is. I listen to him. The same with Elvis. You know, I know his pop songs. But one of the things I loved about your book is how it framed how Frank Sinatra, it's not really this way. I'm being very crass, but this isn't really true. That Frank was going out and Elvis was coming in and taking over. And for him to allow that platform for Elvis once he got out of the Army to come on his show was actually a brilliant move on Frank's part. But the other thing that you point out in your book that I wouldn't have thought of if you hadn't pointed out in your book, but it's really true, is that Frank survives Elvis Presley and continues to be Sinatra and to bring in, all of his fans. He could still, book huge, venues. So I always wonder, if you want to bring this back to Prince, I've always wondered how George Clinton feels about surviving Prince. I wonder how George Clinton feels about surviving Sly. So I thought that was a really interesting point that you make in the Sinatra Presley chapter. And I thought it was a really great way, even though I know now it's more chronological, but I thought it was fitting that you started with Sinatra and Presley.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, all these stories that sort of go through it. I mean, like, so for example, Bell Hooks, the critic, she said that without Tina Turner, there's no Madonna. And of course, without Madonna, there's no Taylor Swift, so it all can go back to Tina Turner there. There's this whole history. And a lot of this is going back. I mean, it sort of starts around 1960 and moves back and forth. So although I say it is chronological in terms of the pairings, within those chapters, we're going backwards and forwards. And I mean, and Prince is always there in the background. I mean, the one of the fascinating things for me recently is that all the rediscovery of all the Elvis live shows, I mean, with the Baz Luhrmann film in particular coming out recently, but also there's a few labels that just put out live shows from Elvis, every couple of months. And in the book at the back, I sort of give you a suggested way that people might get into some of the live shows with certain people, or what films to watch, or I try and sort of my favorite Sinatra albums, but they might not be everybody else's favorite Sinatra albums, and sort of leading a way into it, so to offer lots of possibilities. And for those people who want to do it digitally, there's all the digital stuff, and for physical stuff, there's the physical stuff. But yeah, absolutely, it's that thing that it's very hard to follow all of everybody else's music, when Prince has so much. But it was Prince's stuff that sort of, and that kind of process that gave me the guidance for it. And also Prince does haunt the story in lots of ways, because when I was writing about Paul Simon and Lou Reed, I didn't know that the film that Paul Simon made called One Trick Pony, which is kind of a very downbeat, depressing version of Purple Rain. It's about it's about a musician who's a failure, who doesn't get to do all these shows, who's trying to write an album and it's not working out. Yeah, Edgar, I completely agree with that Prince loved. The thing about Prince and Ike and Tina is that I think a lot of the covers that Prince chose, like Proud Mary, he chose because Tina did them. Like, it's really is amazing how much similarity there is there. But so when Paul Simon made this film, it was with Mo Austin. People will remember from Prince's story. And so when Prince made Purple Rain, one of the reasons why there was that initial doubt about it with Warner Brothers in the very early days of it was because of the failure of One Trick Pony. So it was somebody doing Purple Rain badly, 6 or 7 years before Prince did it, who did that semi-autobiographical music story. It suddenly adds to the Prince story. It kind of gives all the different ways in which. I mean, that was the thing when I was writing the book about Prince, was that he allows you to talk about so much, and you can tell every story just through the prism of Prince. But I wanted to sort of look at some other musicians who kind of like either that sort of shape part of his thinking as well. I think the majority, maybe not all of them, but there's quite a few of them where he would have thought about them. Yeah, exactly. So I talk about that in the book as well. Tina covering Let's Pretend We're Married. Prince is, he may not be on the cover, but he is there in the story all the way through. And and people were always thinking about him. I mean, that you mentioned Tonight being your your first David Bowie album. For me, it was Never Let Me Down, quickly followed by Tonight and Let's Dance Going Backwards. But Never Let Me Down has got that line on it about the little red Corvette has passed me by, because at that time he thought that Prince had passed him, and so he was sort of handing over the baton. Of course, later he wanted to snatch it back, but at the time there was that handing on of the baton. So yeah, so it really kind of adds and fits to that. I mean, the Sinatra and Presley thing, I think was really well, what started me thinking about it was listening to those live shows and thinking about what did Sinatra want from Presley. And part of it was because Presley had served in the army, he served the military service in Germany, and Sinatra hadn't. But in all of his films, Sinatra, not all of them, but like maybe a third of his films, Sinatra's playing a military guy. So, he clearly wanted the respect of being a military person without actually having done it. And I love Sinatra's reasons for not going into the military, disrespectful though they may be, which were he was constitutionally unable to get up in the mornings. Sounds like, liked recording at night. Sounds like someone else we know. And didn't like the idea of crowds. So you can see. I mean, obviously they're very different musicians, but there is that kind of sense of, I don't know what performers are like. That, and I do think that Prince drew from some of Elvis's iconography as well, and some of, obviously taking the intro tune, the Richard Strauss 2001 theme as his own theme in later performance. So there are all these kind of ways in which thinking about Prince and writing about Prince for a long time opened up the door, looking at all these other people as well.
I wanted to ask you a question. I noticed you had Madonna, and my man Tupac together.
Yeah.
And I know a little bit of the thing, but I'm curious, what are some of the things that you share about that, or what are you talking about?
Well, yeah. So with that, one of the starting point again was something that I don't know how well known it is. Obviously, we know about the duet they did, and the fact that it wasn't released at the time. So it was held back. I'd Rather Be Your Lover from Bedtime Stories, but the starting point for Madonna and Tupac was a film called Nothing But Trouble. I don't know if you've come across it. It's Digital Underground's first performance in a film, and directed by Dan Aykroyd, and it's got Chevy Chase and Demi Moore. But in the middle of the film, Digital Underground are arrested and put on trial as themselves, and the Tupac's on the Digital Underground song, Same Song, that comes out from in that film and is performed in that film, and on the soundtrack, there's also another song that Madonna wrote for her protege, Nick Scotti, called Get Over. And the two songs are quite closely connected in the soundtrack. So I was wondering, I was sort of starting off by thinking, did Madonna hear Digital Underground at that point? Did she go to screening? Did she get sent a VHS? Did she have an understanding of Tupac right from the very beginning of his career or not? But what I find, sort of, whether or not that's the case, it's very interesting to me that the two songs, Get Over and Same Song, are quite close musically. And they're both in that sort of beginning. They're both using elements of hip hop. They're both using elements of jazz, and they're both combining it with a kind of pop quality. And that's something that then gets a bit lost. So had the duet happened, instead of which we're left to things like Fantasy, with ODB is the next kind of Mariah Carey is the next big kind of crossover between hip hop and pop. And I just feel like had we started with Madonna and Tupac when they wanted to do it, it might have speeded up things, it might have changed things, it might have changed the music history in an intriguing way.
Okay.
And also as actors, so I'm talking about the fact that Tupac was, as well as being an incredible, D'Angelo was talking about film, Tupac was an incredible actor, and as his performances were extraordinary. And Madonna's performances, she made her films are often disregarded, but she, if you put her together a kind of all of her films together as a kind of season, there are some really interesting films in there. And it's really interesting to me how there were sort of parallel stars that while he's making some of the films that he's making, she's making Dick Tracy, and it's this cartoonish version of gangsterism at the same time as, as Juice and this, and these kind of like not cartoonish versions of gangster films, so that the kind of parallels between the two stars and the way that they're seeing each other. And but again, it's about to do with the sort of disrespect that people had to face. So where Madonna goes, so I end with Madonna going on the David Letterman show, after having spent the day with Tupac, and just that incredible disrespect that she's getting for, just sort of trying to shake things up a little bit and not to be sort of traditional and conventional. And she said that Tupac had got her riled up before going on that performance, and he, and I really felt, looking at it now, it's so cringeworthy the way that Letterman responds to everything she's doing. She thinks it's funny that they've been told, so for little things like she was told that every time she swore somebody would bleep it out, but they didn't do that, and then so David Letterman's getting cross with her, and just this kind of just the way that the conservativeness of the culture, just again with like just how poorly Tupac was treated at that time, and how people struggled to understand music and culture and all the things that now it's ridiculous looking back to it. So again, for us, we went through that era. We know what it was like. But for younger people, I think they would be just a lot of that is just impossible to understand.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember. I forgot about the Letterman thing with Madonna. I kind of vaguely remember this hoopla about that at the time. I find it interesting because now I just finished reading the Arsenio thing, and he talks about when she came on his show, and I remember the way she acted on his program, almost the opposite of this, the way she sort of came to him. But it's interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean, it just, I mean, the 90s was a different time, right? And it just sort of, and again, and Prince's story is interesting at how what he was going through in the 90s as well, and just how the massive cultural changes, and how, as always, the mainstream was so slow to catch up, but then once they did catch up, they absorbed it all and took it forward. And of course, that leads into the last chapter where I look at Ye and Taylor Swift.
So there's a couple of things I want to say. Of all the chapters that I read, the one that I personally wasn't that connected with was the Madonna and Tupac chapter, not because of Tupac. I love Tupac. But Madonna, I've never seen her as a musician. I respect the heck out of her as a businesswoman and a brilliant marketing mind. But as a musician, I just, with the exception of the first album, and it was only after reading your book, I realized why I love the first album, because it was produced by Nile Rodgers. And I was like, duh. And then one of the things that you point out, there's 3 records you talk about that Nile Rodgers. The other one was obviously Let's Dance by Bowie. But there was another one that you mentioned, and I was like, oh my God, Nile Rodgers did all 3. So for me, it's really about Nile Rodgers and not Madonna when it came to that first record. So I'm curious, like, did you consider pairing Tupac with other people, or was it just kind of like done in terms of Madonna and Tupac? And then on top of that, what were some of the other pairings you were thinking about including that didn't make the cut?
Sure. So it was always Madonna and Tupac, but it was to do with pop and hip hop, because it was always thinking about that. Who are the 2 most famous people from that? Because the subject of fame being so important to the structure of the whole. So I think it was really there wasn't anyone else that would. I mean, Tupac
that would have been interesting.
could have been equally. Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the ones that I didn't think I thought about and didn't include, so it started off, I had 15, so and I realized I couldn't take 15 years to write this, so some fell away. But the one, and I write about them at the end of the book, the ones that I didn't include, Miles Davis and Jimi Hendrix. That seemed to me a really interesting one, and that was when I was thinking. I mean, obviously they're both hugely famous and hugely successful, and there is an interesting story about Jimmy going to see Miles and how it influenced his music. So I mean, that was the one I was kind of closest to doing. Charlie Mingus and Joni Mitchell. That I thought, and that one, part of the reason that I stopped on that one, or stopped thinking about that one, was with a lot of this book, there's lots of stuff still coming out from the archive, so all the Joni Mitchell stuff was coming out during the time I was writing it. And I wonder, much as with Prince, we wait to see what comes out of the vault. Sometimes things come out that change the story. So when I started that, I was thinking, oh, there could be a Joni, when as she was releasing her stuff, and Joni's Jazz that was about to come out, this could just change the story considerably. In the end, the stuff that came out, as good as it was, I don't think it does necessarily significantly change the story. So that was one that I came quite close to including. And then I thought about Johnny Rotten, John Lydon, and Susie Sue. And I met with John Lydon to talk about that and potentially interview him, but he wasn't very interested in Susie Sue. You know, and I think it's one of those weird. I mean, what I wanted to write about in that situation was about how the fan became more important than the artist, than the musician, maybe. You know, the fact that Susie Sue went on to be so important and have so much interesting music, but when I talked to him, he was John Lydon was more interested in Alice Cooper, and I thought I don't know. I mean, not like anything wrong against Alice Cooper, but it suddenly seemed like a not. It didn't seem like as interesting a story. I'm trying to think who else. There were a couple of others as well. Axl Rose and Kurt Cobain, but that seemed like an award show story, similar, and of course, you know, with Taylor and Ye or Kanye as he was then, that's an awards show story as well. So it felt like it would be saying the same thing. So that's why that fell out.
Yeah, I would really have, especially since it's the centennial of Miles Davis, it would have been phenomenal to have the Miles Davis and Jimi Hendrix chapter, you know, just because they're like two of my loves. But again, with both of those artists, I've listened to their albums. I am not like I haven't listened to all of Miles Davis's catalog. I have a couple of the box sets. That's a whole nother can of worms. And, you know, obviously Jimmy's catalog is, you know, smaller, so you can wrap your head around that one. But yeah, that would have been phenomenal. I would have loved to hear that. And also like the Kurt Cobain one, I think would have been interesting. You can, but I really love that you have the David Bowie and Tina Turner. That's the one for me. And so I was and again, like seeing Tina on the cover, I was like, oh my God, that's so incredible. As you know, Tina is on my walls. So not many more people are on my walls beyond Prince, but Tina Turner is on my walls in my home. So I love Tina. And I, like you noted in the book, that she just doesn't get the recognition. I mean, she gets recognition, but not at the level that she should get, for sure. So I just really love that you're putting a spotlight on her and how she should be. And because she is at the same level as Bowie. And I know that some people would, you know, see that as blasphemous, but I don't think that is the case. So there's this question that Montanair is asking, interested in how there's a strong possibility that Prince started replicating or was inspired by Bowie's ever-changing personas and looks. Do you think there's any, you know, gravity to that?
Yeah, I do, but I mean, it's interesting, sort of going on what he said. You know, when Bowie died and Prince covered Heroes, and he had that thing where he said he was always very nice to me whenever I met him, and I think there was I don't know, something in the way that he said that makes it seem like he maybe wasn't that inspired by him. I mean, obviously he was inspired by him in some ways, but I don't know. I don't know, that sort of notion of changing every album out with every album that comes out. That's definitely something that Prince did. So maybe earlier on, I don't know. I think that after they sort of met, I guess that's kind of mid 80s. I mean, it's interesting, you know, there's a lot more work. There's a book coming out, isn't there, about the similarity between Prince and Bowie, and I think there is more of a connection with them in retrospect. At the time, I think maybe they went in quite different directions. But then, you know, but also the similarities, you know, I mean, D'Angelo, you were there firsthand for the internet, you know, you know, that was clearly something that appealed to them both, getting into the internet early.
Yeah. So speaking of which, I'm sorry, I don't know how to use StreamYard right now. There's a new book out that's actually about the first Prince Bowie conference that happened at Yale. And it was January of 2017. I don't consider this the first Prince conference because this was a Prince Bowie conference. And like I said, I love Bowie. I actually worked with him on his first 2 iterations of davidbowie.com. I was able to meet him in person. I love Bowie. But like for me, the first Prince conference happened in Manchester, England with Dr. Kirsty Fairclough, which was later that year. But they just released a book about the conference in terms of the essays that were the talks that were done at the conference. And this is something that I want to do myself with the Prince Symposia that I do. So I haven't had an opportunity to read this yet because I've been reading Matt's book instead. But I'm very excited about reading this. And I want to, hear about how, because I wasn't able to go to this in real time. I can't remember, something happened and I wasn't able to go. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. So this was just released maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's called Black Star Rising and the Purple Rain, REIGN, and it's by Daphne Brooks. And Daphne Brooks is also an academic, and she wrote an essay in the Super Deluxe box set for Sign of the Times. So this is a new Prince book. Another brand new Prince book is actually Prince's Minneapolis, written by Rashad Shabazz, who is also another academic. I think he teaches at ASU, Arizona State University. And this is all about Prince in Minneapolis. So I haven't had an opportunity to read this either because, again, I've been prioritizing Matt's book because he was coming on, but also because it's so darn good that I do want to finish it before I complete it. So there are a lot of books on the market. And yes, the Manchester Purple Rain was really fantastic. And I'm so happy. So did you attend Mad Angry Panda? So you said I was at Yale when it happened. So did you actually attend it? Because I can interpret that in a couple of different ways. And then Reg is saying they're definitely a reflection of each other. I liked both of them when I was a kid for their similarities. Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that I love about both of them is that they traverse musical genres, and they are all about reinvention and also very film centric, in terms of making films and being very visual. There are definitely a lot of connections. So I'm very much looking forward to reading the Black Star book. Yes, awesome. That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. And I know that Sheila E. was there. That was one of the things that I was really bummed about in terms of missing that particular one. So so I could talk to you forever about your book. One of the things that I mentioned to you before we came on is like your humor really comes through. I even outlined, highlighted some of the lines that you have in the book when I just really cracked up. I just thought it was really, really funny. I unfortunately didn't finish the Paul McCartney and Diana Ross chapter. That's the one that I'm reading currently. But I think it's just really brilliant that you decided to pair Diana Ross with Paul McCartney. And again, it's kind of giving Diana her flowers in terms of being on a level of someone like Paul McCartney, who is so revered, in the music circles. So I really, really, really love that. So for the sake of time, because we got 7 minutes till 2, and I want to make sure my timekeeper is happy, is there anything that else you would like for us to know about the book? And, that we should know to get people to buy it?
The hard sell.
Yes.
I think if you're as you all are, Prince fans, music fans, I think you'll find lots of stuff in here that will fill out your stories and give you a sense of I mean, for me, you talked about film, and that's one of the things that I'm most sort of interested in, is about whether it's Diana Ross or Frank Sinatra or David Bowie or even Madonna, how they expanded beyond their worlds, beyond the music worlds. It's not just an album, it's that they want to be actors as well, and they are really good actors, but they also have books, and they also have this kind of a sort of a way of where you reach this point where you want to tell your story beyond what's on the records. And I think that's one of the amazing things for me with Prince was, getting Sign of the Times, and then finding out about Crystal Ball. And, I won't go on because we all know that story. But the interesting thing to me is I didn't ever really realize until I started writing the book that sort of thing goes on with lots of other musicians in the same way. That, as I say, just for me, I've come back to it, but this was just listening to so part of the Supreme story, when they were getting there was a possibility of Florence Ballard leaving the band. And in the book, I make a connection between the Revolution and when Prince was getting close to finishing with the Revolution, and they would perform, and they had this song where on stage they would sing "Flo Don't Know," and one of the things that she didn't know was originally the song was about relationships, but it meant Flo didn't know that she's about to be sacked. Yeah. Incredibly cold thing to do on stage, but it's sort of really interesting to hear night after night how that develops, how they're trying, the monologues on stage, they become part of the drama, they become part of the story. And really, I suppose that's the big thing for me, is that, which I learned from Prince, is that the story is there in the music. The story, yes, there are lots of interviews in the book as well. I interviewed important people like Ray Coleman, who was there at Ray Connolly, who was there at the night, actually witnessed what was going on between the Supremes. But just as important to me is finding those recordings, hearing those things that are in the vault, watching the movies, seeing the extra footage. I went to the Lou Reed archive in the New York Library of Performing Arts. I also looked at some of the Tupac stuff when I was out there as well. So, I was really going everywhere to try and get every possible detail I could for, all of these musicians, and treat them with the same sort of attention and respect that I was treating Prince. And hopefully, yes, it's entertaining and funny. I mean, being funny was, very important to me, because I wanted it to be an incredible, blowing my own trumpet, but as readable an experience as it possibly could be. And I wanted to make sure that although there's all the detail there, and although there is a deep dive, never to lose sight of the fact of trying to entertain, readers, and for them to feel like it's an enjoyable experience.
Question about the movie aspect of it. So, of the artists that you mentioned, Madonna, Bowie, Diana Ross, Prince, what was Tupac, whatever? What was the one movie for each one of those artists that you would say is the best?
Okay.
Who had who had the most potential? I'm gonna leave Tupac out of that because I think but who would have the best potential to be an actor if they was to step away from music?
To give you one for each person would take too long, but it is all in the book, I promise. So every one of those. I think Diana Ross is an incredible actor. Going through them, Sinatra's got some incredible films. I list them in the book. He does everything from comedy, Rat Pack comedies, to high drama. Presley, most of the films aren't that great, but there are one or two really fantastic ones out there. Again, I mentioned them in the book. Paul McCartney, terrible actor. I really don't like. Give my regards to Broad Street. Diana Ross, amazing. All of her performances are fantastic. Lou Reed didn't do very much. A few comic performances. Paul Simon, not very good, as I mentioned with this film. Chuck Berry's absolutely magnetic when he's playing himself, but also in those early films in the 50s, those are really amazing as well. Worth checking out. He just tears through the films. He's very realistic. Keith Richards, Pirates of the Caribbean aside, not really. David Barry.
I forgot about that. That's right.
David Barry, an amazing performer. Tina Turner, an amazing. David, amazing actor. Tina Turner, amazing actor. Madonna, I think, has got some really fantastic films. There's some rubbish films as well, but some really good ones. Tupac was extraordinary. I think every performance. Tupac's the best, I think, actually, in terms of as an act. I mean, him and Sinatra. Ye, I talk about his appearance on Entourage, his cameos there.
I didn't know you done that.
And Taylor Swift, I think, has got a very checkered filmography, and from CSI to Amsterdam. But yeah, it's all in the book.
He was on CSI?
He was, yeah.
I had no idea.
Playing evil twins.
So for me, when it comes to David Bowie, there's a couple things. So first of all, Edgar had mentioned this a while back. My sister's favorite film to this day is David Bowie's Labyrinth. I do not know why, but it is. I have seen this film a gazillion times because of my sister, and it's a very strange film. But it was great to see that Edgar's introduction to Bowie was actually the Lambeth movie. So thank you so much.
Is that the Tom Cruise? Or?
No, Lambeth is like Jim.
Yeah.
Legend. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for me, Bowie's the Bowie film that I absolutely love is Hunger.
Yeah.
And Vampires. But also Tony Scott, who's really Scott's brother, is an amazing director. And if I remember correctly, because I often get them confused, I think Tony Scott did True Romance, which is one of my favorite films of all time. But I really love Bowie's performance in Hunger. And obviously, The Man Who Sold the World is an incredible performance, but it is one of the most depressing films. And I'm not being funny. I mean, I saw it one time as a kid. It just went over my head, but I saw it as an adult when they had like a theatrical re-release. I left that film so deflated about humanity, and it's just like something I never want to watch again. It's so good that I never want to watch it again.
What's the name of the movie again?
The Man Who Sold the World.
I know it's The Man Who Fell to Earth. The Man Who Sold the World.
The Man Who Fell to Earth. Right, I'm getting it confused with the album. Yeah, The Man Who Fell to Earth. He plays an alien who falls to Earth, and that's all you need to do. Just watch it from there. It's very depressing. It's probably one of the most depressing films I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of films in my lifetime. But his performance was extraordinary. It really, truly was. Just really quickly, I wanted to highlight this comment. I don't know if Edgar's still here, but this is a very interesting comment from Edgar, and I totally can relate. In 87, Edgar's parents made him choose between seeing Prince or Bowie. They allowed me to go to only one show, so I saw the Sign of the Times show instead of the Glass Spider tour. And here we are 4 decades later. What would have happened if I would have chose Bowie? I often think about that when it comes to Bowie, because I would have been a massive Bowie fan. And I am a massive Bowie fan, but I just can't do the deep dive because Prince is number one. And like, you only have one life, and I'm still trying to get to the Prince's catalog. So, I didn't realize I passed on this day in 1990. So it's 2 worlds fighting. Oh, wow. Thank you for that, Edgar.
If Edgar had gone with Glass Spider, of course, he would have had Tin Machine almost immediately. So that might have impacted his.
Speaking of Tin Machine, I absolutely love. We're almost done, Kim. I know. I love the first Tin Machine record. Yeah. I don't like the second one, but that's another one. So kind of going back to Tonight. So Tonight wasn't my first Bowie album. I had went back, because my uncles and aunt, they listened to Bowie. So I had been listening to Bowie all my life. But I'm talking about, and I remember the Never Let Me Down. And I was following Bowie, but Tonight was the album in real time that really grabbed me. And that was the one that was kind of like my record in real time. And I don't know, until this day, I don't know why it was Tonight, but it was definitely Tonight. Like I played it like to death. So that's one.
I'm a newbie to Bowie. Is that like one of his best albums, or is that
no?
Well, I mean, it's not regarded as one. It's a. I mean, it is really good, but yeah.
Okay, I got you.
It's not the one. If you were to go on the street and say, "What's your favorite Bowie record?" I doubt people would say Tonight.
Oh, okay.
It's the new soul of
yeah.
Hilarious. Well, then I probably like it.
Yes.
Hilarious. Because I think when you say Tonight to me, I'm like DJ Quick.
No, I like Tin Machine too. But just do you know that Tina? This is something I found out from the book, that Tina Turner's mum hated Tin Machine.
Oh
my God! I played that first Tin Machine to death. That Working Class Hero.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh my God, that is such a cover. I mean, and I hate covers, but I was like, oh my God. So yeah. And then Edgar says Prince is number one, but basically I have been chasing the high of that very first concert ever since. I hear you. I hear you. And this Michael Dean is a very most people would say Young Americans is a big Bowie. There's so many Bowie, just like, so the thing is, like, Bowie's catalog is probably just as large as Prince's catalog, and then if you throw in all of the re-releases and it's like massive. Like, if you got to go down a Bowie rabbit hole, it is very, 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 very deep, very, very, very deep.
I mean, the one thing I would say on that, Michael, is that, and this will probably be some relief. I personally think that Bowie was a really good editor of his own stuff. So it's not like Prince where you're constantly listening to extra tracks. I mean, there are bootlegs and all the rest of it, particularly live bootlegs, but it's not, you can, with almost all the albums, you can't go wrong. They're all, they're all really great albums.
I got you. I kind of I might be like a young person who may look at Prince now, I can see all of it. And there's certain songs that I actually know them very well just because they were big hits, and you can't help but being exposed to them. But I always just kind of go by, I'll look at the artist and I'll be like, okay, I want to hear the songs I know. Then maybe I'll take that song that I know and I want to jump into that album for that particular song. And let me see if I can get into that. And if I can, great. But if not, I'm just as fine as, like, I just know a few songs. I don't need to know the whole breadth of it. But I do understand, like, if I was a fan of it, the importance of, like, yo, you're not really getting this until you hear, da-da-da-da. But at the same point, I'm like, I just want to go with what feels good to me. Like, and I can still respect and say that David Bowie was an icon, salute to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was still dope, but I'm getting what I need from it. But at a certain point, it is, I love that it's available. So if I do want to jump in, I can take my time and just really vibe to it. So, but yeah.
And Kim is saying, and I kind of agree with this, that Let's Dance.
That's the cut.
It's the one.
I know that. Yeah.
Like, album though, the single, but the album is called Let's Dance.
Is that the one with Niles on it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've heard some of this. Yeah, I like I said, I know that song, so I made me go and listen. I was like, oh, okay.
Yes, this is one of my favorite songs of all time. This Is Not America. Pat Bowie with Pat Metheny is David Bowie, Pat Metheny, and Modern Love is on Let's Dance. I'm sure you've heard Modern Love because that was on MTV, like up the wazoo. Okay, so because I know Kim wants us to stop, there's a couple more things I want to say to you, Matt, and then we'll wrap up real quick. So I'm really big
Sorry.
I'm an
80s man. I'm an 80s baby. I'm MTV raised.
I love hearing audiobooks from the authors, meaning like read by the author. Would you consider doing an audiobook for Famous, and even better, your Prince book?
Well, we're in negotiation on the audiobook at the moment. The one thing that's sort of holding it up a little bit is that I wouldn't feel comfortable reading all the Chuck Berry dialogue, because I don't think I can do a Chuck Berry suitable. But I was thinking Seeley would. I don't know if he would want to do it. I thought I'd try to build up the courage to ask him. Can he do Chuck Berry?
He would totally do it. He would totally do it. Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Persuade him to do it, then I will. Then it'll definitely happen, because I need a Chuck Berry, basically. I need somebody who can do I can do the rest of it, but I just can't do it.
Yeah, I think Seeley would totally be down. I love that idea. Yeah. And so the other question I have is, how do we purchase your book? Because it's not available on Amazon, because I think it's not open to American audience.
Yeah. So it's not. It will be distributed later in the year, but at the moment it's only available in the UK and Europe. But it will be sort out the American end of it. It's the same with the Prince book. It took a couple of years to get the rights sorted in America.
Yeah. So you will let us know when the rights are in the US. Yeah. But for everybody else, I will put it in the chat. If you're not in the States, you can actually get it from here, which is White Rabbit Books. So if you're not in the States, and products/famous. And then I really love this from Carol. I still consider your book the Bible.
Thank you.
Dog ear pages, and we're talking about Matt's Prince book for those of you who are just joining us late. And yes, of course, Luther Vandross was definitely a background singer for the Young American album, Fame, and all of that. And
is this your second book, or do you have other books?
no, he has a lot of other books. Matt, do you want to talk about your other books?
Yeah, I'm a novelist as well. Yeah, so I've written six novels.
What?
And I wrote 3 books for younger readers as well. So this is my 11th book. So
wow. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is fantastic. All right, so let's wrap up here again because we're over time. We have a lot of people in the Prince community. I'm not going to say their names like I normally do just to save time, but I'm just going to walk through them. Please reach out to them, say hello when you can. Please donate to them. There's still very much need your emotional and financial support if you're able to do it. So, and we have our company playlist. I will add the Bangles show to it. Oh, while we're talking about this, a couple things. Michael, thank you so much for posting that clip of Angelo playing the ballad or Dorothy Parker. I wouldn't have seen it if you hadn't have posted it. I wish it was the entire song because just when he was about to get into it, it's like the clip ends. I was like, oh my God. But that was really incredible to see. We miss him. He's such a phenomenal musician. He loved Prince, and it was just so amazing seeing him see that. I also have the live version of Andorra of the song we heard at the top of the hour. And then Duane Prince DMSR posted like an unofficial Super Deluxe of Jill Jones. That's the reason why I'm wearing a Jill Jones shirt today. And it is incredible. It's been about like my sound. And I have all these songs. It's just nice to have them all in one video to listen to. So if you want to hear some unreleased Jill Jones, some Prince singing in some of the tracks, it's a really great compilation. And again, we have Ricky's playlist if you miss Ricky's voice like I do. And please donate to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation in memory of Ricky. Bit.ly, The Flash Sessions was one of his favorite projects. And with that being said, Michael Dean is going to take us out.
Thank you again, Matt, for coming on, man. I've got to check out that book for sure. I do have your other book. I was going to tell you, your book always lives in my mind because I always remember going to like Barnes and Nobles years ago. And, first thing, we always go to the music section, it's kind of see, is there a new Prince? And I would, I had already had your book, but it was always, your book was thick, man. So it always would just stand out. And it was just always that one. I would always see it like, God, there's Matt. I didn't even know you at the time. I was like, damn, that dude, man. He's all over the place. I love it. I mean, in a good way. Like you would always see it.
Thank you. That's
very
amazing.
available here in the States. So thank you for coming on. Definitely going to check out the new book. Thank you, D'Angela, for doing your thing. Salute to Celie. Salute to Ricky. Salute to Arthur and my man Ted out there, wherever you are. And thank you to everybody in the chat for making this what it is. That's all I got to say. Work it like a job. We'll see you next time.